The moment Joe Rogan released the new evidence, everything changed. What had been whispered online for weeks turned into a full-scale crisis, one that didn't just involve Charlie Kirk's legacy, but the woman who once stood closest to him. Within hours of the episode going live, viewers noticed something strange. Erika, Charlie's widow, had gone completely silent. No posts, no statements, no appearances. Her phone reportedly went straight to voicemail. Even her closest friends admitted they couldn't reach her. And just like that, rumors exploded. Had she gone into hiding? Joe's revelation wasn't vague or speculative this time. It was sharp, direct, and backed with what he called documents people were never supposed to see. He claimed the new evidence exposed conversations, decisions, and hidden motives that could rewrite the entire narrative surrounding Charlie's final months. And according to Joe, Erika wasn't just involved, she was at the center of it. The internet erupted. People dug into her whereabouts, analyzing her last appearances, her behavior online, and even her body language from old interviews. Then the most chilling details surfaced. Erika had canceled all her scheduled events just 24 hours before the episode aired, as if she knew what was coming now. With Joe Rogan's evidence circulating and Erika nowhere to be found, one question has taken over every corner of social media. Did she disappear to protect herself, or to hide what's about to come out next? Because if Joe's evidence is real, her disappearance doesn't just look suspicious. It looks strategic. The internet was already buzzing before sunrise. Joe Rogan's latest episode had dropped overnight, and within minutes, clips began circulating across every platform. But these weren't ordinary sound bites or casual commentary. This time, Joe didn't hold back. He hinted at real evidence connected to Charlie Kirk's final months. Evidence that implicated the one person everyone assumed had nothing left to hide: his widow, Erika. Normally, a story like this would take hours to build traction, but the reaction was instant. Comment sections exploded. Headlines sprang to life. Podcasts went live before they even finished listening. And buried beneath the chaos was one detail no one could ignore: Erika had vanished. Her social media pages, usually filled with carefully curated posts and daily affirmations, had been silent for nearly 48 hours. At first, people chalked it up to coincidence. But when Joe dropped the episode, the silence transformed into suspicion. Reporters tried contacting her. No response. Her personal assistant refused to comment. A close friend, anonymously quoted, said only, "I haven't spoken to her since earlier this week. She's out of reach." That was the moment everything snapped, because Erika wasn't the type to disappear. She was the type to control narratives, not run from them. The type to release polished statements, not hide. And yet, here she was, vanished the exact week Joe Rogan claimed to have evidence tying her to decisions made during the most turbulent period of Charlie Kirk's life. The episode itself didn't reveal everything. Joe never does. He knows the power of timing, the pull of suspense. But the hints were enough to send investigators and commentators spiraling. He referenced emails, private conversations, and what he called a timeline that doesn't add up. He mentioned a discrepancy between what Erika said publicly about her husband's final months and what the evidence actually showed. And then he dropped the line that ignited the entire storm. "Someone told me Erika knew things long before anyone else did, and didn't share it. Not with the public. Not even with Charlie's own parents." It felt like déjà vu. Just weeks earlier, Joe had hinted at secrets she'd hidden from Charlie's family. But this time it wasn't just a family matters, it was something bigger, something deeper. Something that made Erika's sudden disappearance look less like coincidence and more like preparation. One of the guests on Joe's show pressed him for details. Joe leaned forward, his tone sharper than usual. "Let's just say the documents I've seen raise serious questions about the decisions she made behind the scenes. And when people know the truth, they're going to understand why she vanished." The internet hung on every word. People began dissecting Erika's recent behavior. 2 weeks ago, she had abruptly canceled several speaking engagements, citing personal reasons. Last week, she pulled out of a charity event she had headlined annually. Days before Joe's episode aired, she deleted several older posts, including photos from the final months of Charlie's life. And then came the most suspicious detail of all: her team quietly paused her upcoming podcast season. Even though episodes had already been recorded, it didn't take long for speculation to take over. Some said she fled to avoid the backlash. Others believed she was being protected by those who had a lot to lose if the documents Joe referenced became public. A few theorists insisted she knew exactly what was coming, and disappearing was part of a larger strategy to control the damage. Meanwhile, people close to Charlie's parents described them as shaken after hearing Joe's comments. One insider said this isn't the first time they've felt blindsided by her, but this time, it feels different. And that statement only fueled the growing suspicion that whatever Joe had uncovered wasn't just damaging. It was personal. As the story gained momentum, independent researchers began digging into the final months before Charlie's passing. They pieced together interviews, schedules, public appearances, and anything that could hint at inconsistencies. And quietly, a pattern began to emerge, one that suggested Erika had more control over Charlie's private world than anyone realized. Former staff members, speaking anonymously, said Erika was heavily involved in meetings, decisions, and messaging Evan when Charlie was facing private struggles. One described her influence as absolute. Another said she spoke for him more than people think. Sometimes even when he was in the room. That influence alone wasn't suspicious. Many spouses play significant roles in public careers. But when placed beside Joe's implications, it painted a darker picture. One where Erika didn't just support Charlie. She may have shaped the narrative around him in ways no one understood until now. Joe referenced a timeline. Inconsistency involving a private meeting. Charlie was supposed to attend shortly before a major turning point announcement. According to the official story, he hadn't shown up due to last-minute health concerns. But the new evidence suggested Erika had been the one to cancel the meeting, not Charlie. And according to Joe's source, Charlie had no idea. Then came the second bombshell. Joe said he had spoken with someone who was inside the Kirk home during Charlie's final days. This person claimed Erika was unusually controlling, limiting who could see him, what information reached him, and even what he was told in his final conversations with family. That's when everything changed. The idea that Erika may have controlled Charlie's communication wasn't new, but the claim that she withheld information from him, critical information, set off alarms across social media. People began connecting dots they had ignored before. The tension between Erika and Charlie's parents, the unexplained decisions, the curated public appearances, and now, the disappearance that perfectly aligned with Joe's revelations. Commentators began asking the question no one had asked before. Was Erika protecting Charlie during those months? Or protecting something else? The public didn't know the answer. But Joe's tone made it clear whatever he had seen, it wasn't small. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was something that could alter the legacy of Charlie Kirk and expose the deeper dynamics within his marriage. Meanwhile, the search for Erika intensified. Her last known location was a private home she sometimes stayed in for quiet time. But sources confirmed she hadn't been there since the day before Joe's episode aired. Her car was gone. Her phone was off. And the people who usually shielded her with carefully worded statements had gone silent. A reporter phrased the situation perfectly. She didn't just stop posting. She disappeared like someone who's preparing for impact. Because now that Joe Rogan had opened the door, the truth was coming whether Erika was ready or not. And the world wasn't just asking what the evidence revealed. They were asking why she ran as the hours passed. The mystery surrounding Erika's disappearance deepened. What started as concerned speculation quickly turned into a full-blown hunt. Journalists began staking out locations she was known to frequent. Paparazzi parked outside her usual gym. Drone footage circulated online showing her property empty and her security detail nowhere in sight. And the strangest detail, Her house lights, which normally stayed on through the evening, had been dark for 2 nights straight. People who had been close to Erika during her rise were suddenly nowhere to be found. Her friends who used to defend her online refused interviews. Her collaborators posted cryptic messages about taking time off. Even her team, the people responsible for shaping her public image, released a vague statement claiming she was taking a temporary hiatus due to personal matters, a phrase that only intensified suspicion. But the real storm was unfolding behind the scenes. 2 independent reporters, one from a political outlet and another from a celebrity gossip channel, both confirmed they had been contacted by someone claiming to have the same documents Joe Rogan saw. Anonymous insider claimed the evidence was not only real, but far more damning than Joe revealed. They insisted that the information Joe hinted at was only the beginning, and that a larger set of files existed, files that detailed the full timeline of decisions Erika made during Charlie's final months. That was when the online conversation shifted from scandal to potential cover-up. According to the insider, the documents contained emails, notes, and even voice memos that painted a disturbing picture of what had been happening privately in the Kirk household. These weren't rumors or third-hand stories. These were direct communications conversations involving Erika advisors and at least 2 individuals who appear to have been consulted about Charlie's condition without his knowledge. When this detail surfaced, it ignited an entirely new line of questioning. Why would Erika speak to advisors privately? Who were they? And what decisions were being made without Charlie's involvement? That's when Joe's most cryptic statements suddenly made sense. During his episode, he said if people saw how the decisions were made in those last months, they'd understand why the family was so divided. At the time, listeners thought he was speaking generally. But now, knowing there were advisors involved and hidden communication channels, the comment took on a darker tone. Meanwhile, social media detectives were doing what they do best. They began analyzing Erika's behavior from the months leading up to Charlie's passing. They noted how she often appeared calm and polished in public, even during moments when Charlie seemed visibly strained. They found footage of events where Erika appeared to take over conversations meant for Charlie, guiding narratives with her trademark gentle but firm tone. More curious was a clip from a charity gala 3 months before Charlie's final decline. In it, a guest asked Charlie about a particular Turning Point initiative. Before Charlie could respond, Erika stepped forward, placed her hand on his arm, and answered for him. Many had viewed the moment as protective. Now, rewatched under Joe's lens, it felt controlling. Former staff members began speaking carefully, anonymously, but consistently. One person who worked closely with the family said Erika had a pattern. She always positioned herself as the interpreter, the staffer said. If Charlie struggled, she explained it. If he disagreed with his parents, she smoothed it over. But over time, you realized she wasn't smoothing. She was guiding. Another mentioned that the tension with Charlie's parents escalated drastically during his final months. They said Erika often prevented them from visiting, citing excuses about Charlie needing rest or privacy. The parents supposedly believed her at first, but eventually, they began to sense something was wrong. That belief that something was off was strengthened by Joe's new evidence. In the episode, Joe had said, there are messages showing decisions being made on his behalf. These decisions his parents never approved and he never knew about. Viewers couldn't believe what they were hearing. It wasn't just the secrecy, was the implication that Erika may have taken control in ways that violated the trust of everyone around her. As more sources confirmed these claims, larger outlets began to dig deeper. One reporter uncovered that Erika had reached out to a high-profile crisis management specialist 3 weeks before Charlie's final public appearance. This specialist typically works with celebrities under pressure, people preparing for scandals, lawsuits, or major personal revelations. The question wasn't just why Erika contacted this person, it was why she contacted them at that specific moment. Another reporter revealed that During those same weeks, Erika had full control over Charlie's schedule. She managed his interviews, filtered his calls, and reportedly turned down several visits from family and close friends. Publicly, she stated that he was focusing on rest and reflection. Privately, staffers said he seemed confused by canceled appointments he thought he had agreed to. It wasn't until after his passing that Charlie's parents began piecing things together. The tight control, the limiting of communication, the unexplained decisions, it all looked different in hindsight. Joe Rogan's evidence didn't confirm all of this, but it connected enough dots to reignite every suspicion. His claim that Erika knew things long before anyone else did became one of the most discussed lines of the week. What exactly had she known? Why didn't she tell Charlie? Why didn't she tell his parents? The speculation became so intense that even political commentators, many of whom had avoided discussing Charlie's personal life, began weighing in. Some defended Erika, arguing that spouses often step into controlling roles during times of stress. Others insisted that Joe's revelation exposed a pattern of manipulation that had been ignored for too long. But the defining moment came when a local reporter in Phoenix claimed to have spoken with a member of the Kirk extended family. This person allegedly said there's a reason Charlie's parents never trusted her completely, and there's a reason she's gone now. She knew this would come out. That quote spread instantly, because it didn't sound like speculation. It sounded like confirmation. And with Erika still missing, the public began to draw their own conclusions. People speculated she fled before investigators could reach her. Others believed she was hiding under the guidance of people who had as much to lose as she did. A few theorists suggested she might be preparing a counter-narrative, waiting until the storm reached its peak before releasing her own version of events. But most believed something simpler and far more troubling. She disappeared because the evidence Joe Rogan hinted at didn't just threaten her reputation, that threatened the entire story she had built, the one the public trusted, the one Charlie's parents tried to protect their son from, the one that, according to Joe's source, was built on decisions he never knew about. Now the world wasn't just asking where Erika went. They were asking what she was afraid of revealing next. As the second full day passed without any sign of Erika, the situation reached a point no one could ignore. The internet wasn't just curious anymore, it was obsessed. News channels ran hourly segments, podcasts updated their episodes live, and influencers scrambled to offer their own interpretations of what had driven Erika to disappear so abruptly. But even the loudest voices were overshadowed by the quiet dread settling in among those who knew the Kirk family personally. Because while the public treated this like a mystery, the family saw it as a long-awaited unraveling behind closed doors. Sources claimed that Charlie's parents had been contacted by investigators, people who weren't just interested in Joe Rogan's claims, but in the documents multiple insiders claimed to possess. These investigators weren't looking for rumors. They wanted timelines, statements, and clarity regarding the decisions made in Charlie's last months. 4 years. The Kirk family's confusing dynamic had been a puzzle to outsiders. Why had they rarely appeared beside Charlie and Erika near the end? Why were their statements so measured? Why did Charlie seem caught between loyalty and discomfort in interviews that mentioned his wife? At the time, viewers assumed it was stress from public life. Now with Joe's revelations, those moments were being re-examined as signs that his parents knew something deeper was wrong but lacked the evidence to confront it publicly. The search for Erika intensified when a journalist revealed that she had quietly liquidated several assets in the weeks prior to Joe's episode. This wasn't gossip, it was documented. Transactions had been processed, accounts frozen, properties placed under LLCs, all actions that looked less like maintenance and more like preparation. People couldn't help but ask, preparation for what? More sources surfaced, painting a picture that only grew darker. One former staff member said they had always suspected Erika kept information from Charlie. She acted like she was protecting him, the staffer said, but it always felt like she was protecting herself, protecting the image. Another person, someone who had worked closely with the couple, claimed that Erika often intercepted difficult conversations before they reached Charlie. She filtered the world for him, they explained. But after a while, it seemed like she filtered too much. Every new piece of the puzzle pointed in the same direction. Control. Control of the narrative, control of communication, control over what Charlie saw and didn't see. And when placed alongside Joe Rogan's claims about the documents, the picture became less about influence and more about concealment. The documents, according to insiders who claimed to have seen them, weren't vague notes or ambiguous messages. They were detailed. They outlined choices made in the name of protecting the brand. Choices that affected Charlie's health, decisions, and perception of his own circumstances. They hinted at conversations happening without him present, conversations about his future, his capabilities, and ultimately, his role. The most explosive claim: that Erika had withheld critical information from Charlie during a pivotal period. Something that would have changed the way he approached his final months. Something Joe Rogan hinted at but didn't fully explain. People began speculating whether the withheld information concerned his health, his finances, or something deeper, something emotional. Because the strongest rumors suggested Charlie had been unaware of important decisions made in his name. Decisions that shaped how he spent his final weeks and who he spoke. 2. And then came the leak that pushed the story to a breaking point. A journalist posted excerpts, redacted but authentic, from messages believed to be part of the documents Joe referenced. The messages included phrases like, "He doesn't need to know yet. We can manage this internally," and "keep his parents out of it for now." Some messages appeared to involve scheduling changes. Others hinted at private consultations. But the overall tone was unmistakable. Someone had made deliberate choices on Charlie's behalf, and it wasn't him. When the messages hit the public, reactions ranged from fury to disbelief. Supporters of Charlie felt betrayed. Critics who had once dismissed family tensions as normal now saw a pattern they couldn't ignore. People who had admired Erika for her polished presence and calm demeanor now questioned whether she had used those traits to hide something far more complicated. Meanwhile, theories about her disappearance took on a new urgency. Some believed she had gone into hiding to avoid legal scrutiny. Others speculated she was being shielded by powerful individuals who feared their own involvement might eventually surface. There were even whispers that she had fled to another state or country before. The documents could be verified. What no one expected was the next development. Late in the evening, a video surfaced online. It wasn't filmed by a news crew or a content creator. It was security footage, grainy, time-stamped, and chilling. The clip showed a woman matching Erika's appearance, leaving a private residence 2 days before Joe's episode aired. She wore oversized clothing, a hat pulled low, and sunglasses even though it was night. She carried 2 bags, loaded them into a dark SUV, and drove off alone. Within minutes, the footage was everywhere. People analyzed her movements frame by frame. They matched the SUV's license plate to a rental vehicle. They tracked the direction she drove. They noted her posture, her pace, even the fact that she looked over her shoulder twice before getting into the car to the internet. This wasn't a woman escaping attention. This was a woman escaping consequences. Reporters began connecting the timing. The day she vanished was the same day 2 people close to the Kirk family confirmed they had spoken to Joe Rogan. The same day Joe reportedly received the documents. The same day Erika canceled every event on her schedule. It didn't look like coincidence anymore as more outlets began publishing stories. Charlie's parents finally broke their silence, but not with an interview, not with a press conference. Instead, they released a brief written statement through their attorney. It didn't address Erika directly, nor did it acknowledge Joe Rogan's claims by name. It simply said, "We have always trusted that the truth would come out in time. We are cooperating fully with those seeking clarity and remain focused on honoring Charlie's memory." Those words struck the entire internet like a hammer. It wasn't just a statement, it was confirmation that something was wrong, that something had been wrong for a long time, and that the family knew it. The final twist in the story came from Joe Rogan himself. In a follow-up clip posted the next morning, Joe said, "What people are seeing now is only the beginning. There's more coming. And once it's out, everyone will understand why she disappeared." The clip went viral instantly, because if Joe was right, Erika hadn't vanished because she was guilty. She vanished because the story wasn't finished, because the truth she hid wasn't fully exposed, because the next evidence would be even worse. Now the world wasn't just looking for Erika Kirk. They were waiting for the final pieces of the story she tried to bury. What Joe Rogan exposed didn't just reveal a missing piece of Charlie Kirk's story. It blew open the reality that secrets buried behind influence, image, and power never stay hidden forever. Erika's disappearance isn't just a mystery, it's a warning. A warning about what happens when truth finally catches up to the people who thought they could control every narrative, every conversation, and every outcome. For years, Erika projected perfection. She curated her public persona with precision, shaping what people saw while hiding what they were never meant to know. But the moment Joe revealed the documents, those messages, those decisions, that timeline, it all began to crumble. Because when the truth threatens everything someone built, they either stand and face it, or they run. And Erika ran. If this story opened your eyes, don't let it fade into background noise. Share it, talk about it. Because the truth Joe Rogan hinted at doesn't just impact one family. It exposes the way influence can be used to manipulate what the public sees and what loved ones are allowed to know. It forces you to question how many public figures are hiding behind perfectly polished images, while making choices that could destroy the people around them. Stay aware, stay critical, and remember, the truth doesn't disappear just because someone does. So keep watching, because the next wave of evidence is coming, and when it does, everything people thought they knew about Erika, Kirk, and Charlie's final story may never look the same again. Never look the same again.